Hi, welcome to Salt and Burn This. I'm Sammy.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our Supernatural Rewatch podcast.
Each week, we're going to break down an episode in order with lots of details, so nothing's left out.
And we throw in some personal nuggets and stories and research to mix it up just a little bit.
Because not only are we fans of the show, but like Sam and Dean, we've also had our fill of road trips.
Yeah, but for theater, not for hunting ghosts and demons.
And not in a super sexy muscle car.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall. I did just finish the last season of The Boys. I won't say anything about it, except in an upcoming episode of Supernatural, I will discuss what I saw on The Boys.
Okay.
Because I need some brain bleach and maybe something to scratch my eyes out.
Okay. Will you be spoiling anything? Because I still have not seen any of The Boys, even though literally all of my friends have said you need to watch, watch this, you would love this.
Yes, absolutely. It's a disgusting, terrifying, funny, amazing show.
And it's interesting because it comes from people who run the gambit. You know, it's like every type of friend that I have loves this show. So
for different,
for different John Farrell was like, "Have you ever heard of The Boys? You need to watch it." And I'm like, "Oh my
god!" Oh my gosh! See, I have warned friends off of it.
Oh,
because I've been like, you will not. Not only will you not like the show, you will hate me for telling you to watch the show. But yeah, no, I absolutely love it. It is disgusting and amazing and so well written. And it's, you know how this is just an example of on Supernatural towards once they got into it, we always talk about the title splash or the actual like blood splatter, the splatter that happens more and more and more. I think there has to be something in an artist's contract that says you will be splattered with something. You will have bricks thrown at your head. You will have, because every episode has, because it's Eric Kripke, there's a splatter, an explosion, of something. And the fact that every performer who has it happen to them seems shocked makes me think that they didn't know that they
maybe they're just very good at acting.
Yes. So yeah, and of course, in Kripke fashion, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's so much tongue in cheek. It's a great show.
Okay.
On the next
one. Good, because it is on my list. So, dear listeners, I want you to know that I am potting now from my new apartment.
Yes.
And that might not make any difference to you, but for me, it is like night and day when it comes to the noise.
No stomp walker?
There is a stomp walker, and I can't tell if it's an adult who's doing a dance routine or a workout routine, or if it's a very heavy child. It's louder, but not nearly as often, because in the other place it was 24/7 vacuuming, the two toddlers running back and forth literally all day, and now it's just every now and then. But it's the outside noise that I am blocked off from completely.
You're not over the bar anymore.
Not over the bar anymore. I'm not near that plaza anymore. Like if there's an event happening right now, I wouldn't know because I can't hear it, and I'm right in front of my window.
Wow. That's
awesome. Blissful.
That's awesome, because that apartment was very New York, because you wanted to be able to, like, I remember when we first moved there and all the noises that came with our apartment. I was like, we just have to get used to being in New York. It's New York. You know, we are New Yorkers now. We need to.
Yes.
So when I was in your apartment, I was like, this is very New York.
Very New York. It was too New York.
And then it was like, when like the motorcycle stuff started up,
Yeah.
After the pandemic or during the pandemic, I was like,
During,
that's too much.
yeah.
That's just too much because you were on the street and
Yes. It was the
um
motorcycles, it was the fireworks, it was
uh,
the bass from this bar who thinks that they're a Las Vegas club, which is ridiculous because the whole bar is smaller than my apartment. They have like 17 subwoofers, and it's like,
that's
why
crazy.
would anyone
That's
need 17 subwoofers in a space that
right.
small? I feel terrible for my neighbors who are still fighting it. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, thank God.
I am
I am
so
done with
happy
that
for you.
fight.
I
Me
I
too.
just when you told me that you were getting that apartment, I was like, "Oh my God, let me come help you move. I let me be a part of this experience."
Season 5, Episode 6. I believe the children are our future. 11-year-old Jesse believes in fairy tales, a very scary tooth fairy, and urban legends, death-dealing joy buzzers, and whatever he believes in comes true. Bad news for innocent victims. But the boys figure Jesse's parentage has something to do with his powers. Written by Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin, and directed by Charles Beeson.
So slightly off what the episode actually is when it comes down to it. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Only the as the boys, sleuth their way through what's
I see.
happening and why. That's all.
Yes. Yes.
I want to say from the start, Supernatural, we always say that they do a great job in casting children. Once again, great job in
Oh my
casting
God, this
children.
kid, he was just those big eyeballs
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of his low-key performance, it really sold it for me.
Right. He wasn't trying to be cutesy or overly innocent or too smart. And also the child in the beginning of the episode,
Oh yeah.
there's the babysitter and the kid who's
Uh-huh.
being babysat. I loved him.
Yeah.
Absolutely adored him, loved him. And so I was just like, yeah, Supernatural, keep it going with the casting of these kids. They're
Yeah.
fantastic performers. So a little shout out to the youth there.
Children's.
Yes.
All right. So our then, pretty simple. It's just more scenes of Sam starting the apocalypse, setting Lucifer free, the brothers in conflict. That's about it. That's all you need to know for the then.
Yeah. You're so done with that. Okay. That's what I said too. So MapQuest show picks up with Alliance, Nebraska, which is a real place, not made up. And when I looked it up, I realized I kind of want to go there because I don't know if you know what they're.
Yes.
Yes, because of Carhenge. Because I've been to the Cadillac farm in Texas, and just past the Cadillac farm in Texas is the VW bug farm. So instead of there being Cadillacs planted in a field, it's VW bugs planted in a field. So I'm like, we should go to Carhenge, in Nebraska.
I ashamedly have never been to Carhenge, even though I grew up in Nebraska, and
so you knew that this was there?
I did. I have so many friends who have been there and have taken photos. I will see. Let me look up on a map how far it was from where I grew up.
I didn't even know it existed until this episode.
Carhenge?
Yeah, I knew the other two exist. I didn't know that there was a Carhenge.
Oh,
so
yeah, it's on the opposite end of the state. So I grew up closer to Omaha, which is really close to the border of Iowa, and Alliance is in the panhandle of Nebraska, which is on the other side, closer to Wyoming. So
gotcha.
I would not have wanted to drive across the state of Nebraska.
Why? Look, corn.
Yes, it's very similar to the drive in western Kansas, which you do it once and it's all right. I don't need to do that again.
Yep, done. Corn. So now they are in, not they are, but the scene opens up in Alliance, Nebraska. We do not see Carhenge, unfortunately. I'm sorry if we made you think that we were going to talk about the boys in Carhenge. So there's a girl watching TV sitting way too close to the television. Let me just
Really
point
close.
out.
Yeah.
Really close. Like that's the close to the television where your parents would say you're gonna
You can
ruin your eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was way close. Now I thought she was watching a scary movie, and I thought she was watching Cujo. I was like, boom, she's watching Cujo. It's not Cujo. It's another rabid dog movie.
No, it is Cujo.
It is Cujo?
It is
Because
Cujo.
wasn't Cujo the dog doing the attacking.
Maybe they, I don't know. I read in my my resource that it was Cujo because Cujo was produced by Robert Singer. So that was their little Easter egg kind of thing.
Because
but maybe they didn't have the rights on Netflix to put it, so maybe they CGI'd it into a different movie. So you know what, if we need for like a retraction, I will watch the DVD before we record next time, and I'll let you know if the movie is different.
Okay.
I've not seen Cujo, so I can't tell you if it was.
The biggest difference is Cujo is a Saint Bernard. The dog in this video was like a large lab or something.
Oh, okay.
So that's not to say that there wasn't a dog tack in the movie Cujo. But I just remember that scene very, very vividly being Cujo.
I see.
But I was also a toddler when Cujo came out. So, but anyway, hysterical that they were watching Cujo. So she's sitting there watching Cujo, like brushing her hair, which is, I wrote down, I was like, oh, how stereotypical, you know, girl with the long hair, brushing her hair, 100 strokes. But I'll go back to that. And she hears a thud over the noise of the scary television show. So she gets up and she's kind of looking around the room and goes to the closet where we assume the thud came from and opens the closet door. And there's a little boy with a knife through his head, like dead in the closet.
Yes. She is not amused.
She's not amused. So she's like, get up, go to bed. And this was, I thought, hysterical. He's like, I can't. I'm dead. So obviously it's the little boy she's babysitting is trying to play a prank, and she's not having any of it. He's got ketchup on his face.
She's used to it.
Mad.
Yep. She's like not scared. There was no reaction from her whatsoever except get out.
Get out, go to bed. And this kid is like persistent. I'll go to bed if you let me touch your boob. And I was like, oh my God. All my years as a babysitter never came up.
Never happened.
Never came up. Thank God.
Yeah. But like, what were you even doing in that situation? I don't even know.
Yeah. Which she basically just like swatted him on, like, did one of these and was like, just go to bed.
Get out.
Get up, go to bed.
So she goes back to the movie, and then she hears a dog barking outside of the window, and then goes up to investigate from the window, and then the camera pans out.
Right. Now, I swear to God, this was a switch, a little bait and switch. That's supernatural. It was absolutely bait and switch because it was a hellhound. It was the noise was a hellhound. It was definitely the sound of a hellhound. So I went that direction again, not remembering this episode.
I will say I did not remember this cold open because I was like, oh, this is like she gets sucked into the TV or her hair's gonna fall out, and then the dog started barking, and then it's like, oh, the dog's gonna get her, and they don't even really show what happens. It's more of a they do a time switch, you know, it's like later.
They absolutely like said, guess what's going to happen, and it's like, what? We're not going to tell you.
Yes. Yeah. The parents come home and she's asleep on the sofa, and then the dad is like, all right, I'll take her home, and then rolls her over, and like her skull is mangled like and bloody,
scratched open, flesh, brain, and very bloody. And I love this actor, the guy who played the father returning home. He just screams, Francine.
Yes. I also wrote that, Francine, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
Yes. I was like, there's no splatter, but this was really good.
It was very gory.
It was very gory, very good. So, and then that just goes to title splash. So what the heck happened to this poor girl? But I was like, way to like foreshadow her head being injured with all the hair brushing and stuff. I was like,
Yes.
all right, I get it now. Now I know why she
but
was.
still, no, hold on. But still, you think maybe the dog had come in and
Yes.
like scratched him.
And
And they make you
chomped on
think
her.
that later because in this next scene, when the boys are at the morgue talking to the doctor, using, I think, repeat aliases, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
Yep.
Just Robert Page and Robert Plant. They take a look at Amber's skull, and they're like, obviously this is by an animal. And the doctor was like, well, yeah, you would think, except there was a press-on nail in her skull. So one can assume she scratched her brains out.
Right. Not an animal.
Yes. And I just want to say, as an avid press-on nail wearer, there is no way that any of those nails would have stayed on her hand if she were scratching that hard.
If she clawed through her skull bone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you can, it's like, ping, gone.
Yes. I don't care how much glue you use.
But then how would they have known? I mean,
I know.
I know. I just want to point out, this is the first time the boys have been back in suits in a while.
Yeah, you're right.
We have not seen them in their suits, and I just wrote down, back in suits. I also love, again, this coroner is like, he's so nonplussed about this. He's like, oh, you didn't get the notes? Yeah, it was an animal attack. She clawed her brains out. And
yeah,
he's just like so...
And he names all these acronyms. He's like, OCD, PCP, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah,
drug,
he's like,
crazy.
Yep, doesn't care. I mean, it's not that he doesn't care.
He's not invested or no personal connection with this person. He's just like, this is a murder. Or he's like, this is a dead body. I got to figure out what happened. This is what happened.
Yeah.
These are the facts, ma'am.
Yeah, and the boy's like, well, what would make somebody scratch their brains out? And he's like, I don't know, phantom itch. And right then, both boys go.
Yes.
They both like find an itchy spot on themselves. Oh God, this show, love it. Back at the house, Sam and Dean are interviewing the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least Sam is. Dean is there. Sam is asking the parents question. Dean has kind of wandered off.
Yes.
And
zooms in on the son. He's like, aha.
Yes. Love this kid. I love this kid. So Dean doesn't, I don't want to say he confronts the boy. He just, you were here when it happened. What happened? The kid's like, nothing, nope, nothing, not, nope, not suspicious at all.
Jimmy, is just this kid's name, is a terrible liar, and Dean recognizes that.
Yeah.
And I love that he threatens this kid with a trip downtown. Like, he turns full on bad cop with no one to supervise him.
It's like what you shouldn't do with a child. Dean's like, don't hand on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. How about a trip downtown? And the kid's like, and spills the bean. Like, the truth comes out. It's the kid put itching powder on her hairbrush, which in turn caused her to scratch her brains out.
Yes.
I just want to point out that the kid gave Dean the bag of itching powder, the packet of itching powder, because they're talking about it outside, and he has it. Same exact itching powder that he used in
from
season
that
1.
one episode.
Yep, when he put it in Sam's underwear. Yep, same prop.
I can't imagine that there are many manufacturers of itching powder still left.
Oh, I'm sure they just went to the prop shelf and went, we have this, because in that episode, Dean is like, I have itching powder. I'm going to put it in the Sam's brain,
Yep.
Here. Exact same prop. Hell House was that episode. Okay, so they get a phone call. And it's that same coroner hospital worker guy.
Oh, I got another weird one for you. This one died of electrocution.
Yep. And when they interview,
weird.
Yeah. So Sam and Dean are at the hospital, and they interview this poor person who,
he was the witness. Yeah, the witness is senile.
And he's like, it was just supposed to be a joke. And he holds out his hand, and he's got one of those joy buzzers. Which is supposed to be, the thing is, like, when you shake somebody's hand, it just vibrates like ridiculously stupidly. And the advertising was that it was supposed to make the other person feel like they're getting an electric shock. So you could be like, ha, I'm electrocuting you. Which they never did. But meaning they didn't even feel like a shock. It was just ridiculous
Yeah.
buzzing in your hand. So
I've never felt one, so I can't speak on it. But
yeah, because I thought it was going to be a shock.
I
did the
actually was
same
a
thing.
little scared of them too. I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
I don't want to be
He's
shocked.
going to get a shock. Yeah, no, it's just like it's not even like anyway.
So they take this
joy
buzzer back, to their motel and prepare for an experiment, which was just a joy to watch them strap up all of this protective
full
gear.
on Mythbusters. Dean is full on welding glasses, gloves. They have the biggest ham I've ever seen on their kitchen table, which is also like this gingham picnic. I mean, this whole motel room was like Americana.
Very
like,
Americana,
not even Americana. America. I mean, flags,
Eagles,
flags,
red, white,
flags.
Blue.
Yep. And
picnic.
this red and white checkered picnic tablecloth. Hysterical. But yeah, so Dean is garbed up and takes the joy buzzer. And they're like, okay, let's see if this is anything, and jams the joy buzzer into this ham, which proceeds to cook and sizzle.
Yes.
And in record time, it is now a cooked ham.
Yes. So this cooked ham was like such a pain in the ass for the props department.
Oh yeah.
And it's also
do tell. What could go wrong with a ham?
Well, more so it was the props guy. I think his name is Chris Cooper. He was like, ham doesn't cook that way. You can't just heat up a pork shoulder and it turns into ham. You have to cure it like several different times in order for it to turn a different color. And we had to have multiples of like the biggest pork shoulder that you've ever seen turning into a ham because, as we'll see, Dean proceeds to eat it throughout the episode. So then they have to have multiples and make sure that all the cuts are the same. Whenever he pulls out sections of the ham. I love that he was like so focused. I was like, oh, this fucking ham.
Well, like when Dean, of course, is get nonplussed by this experiment, and he whips out his knife and like jams into this ham and starts to eat it right away. And I was like, oh, salmonella, I was like, no. But apparently
they have iron stomachs. They're fine.
Yes, it's Dean, and Sam, of course, is like, no, thank you. No,
I'm
good.
I
eat a ham cooked by a joy buzzer.
Yes, that doesn't even have batteries. So how is this even possible? And they did find the connection of these two things being sold at the same store. So
yeah, so they were thinking cursed objects. I will point out that they did quote the movie Babe after the ham was cooked. I think Dean says, that'll do, pig.
Oh, yes, he does.
Which is one of my favorite lines. I couldn't remember anything about the movie Babe except that'll do, pig. That'll do. Let's go to the shop where these two items were sold.
Yes, the Conjurarium was the name of this store.
I don't know. Who came up with that?
I do not know, but no wonder there's not much business there. Right. So they walk in. Dean immediately lights up at the sight of a whoopee cushion.
Because who didn't want a whoopee cushion?
Yeah, it's a small choice. I could never get the whoopee cushion to work, but
no, because it just go.
Yeah,
it never farted. It just all the air went out at once. Yeah. Yep.
More on that later.
It. Okay.
Sam questions the owner about some recent items sold. They goad the owner to admit that he's angry at these kids nowadays because of TV, video games. Yeah.
They don't want fun magic. They want to watch vampire kissing movies. And yes.
So they accuse him of cursing the toys to get back at them because they made him angry. And they do a live demo of this buzzer on a rubber chicken, which just melts onto his counter. And completely traumatizes the store owner. So
clearly not a very powerful witch.
No.
If he's traumatized by a melting rubber chicken. I have to admit, he was a little bit more disturbed than I think I would have been if somebody had like melted a chicken on my counter.
Yeah.
I was like,
I would not have reacted that
reaction
strongly.
Matches, but regardless, not a witch. So maybe these objects are not cursed objects.
Mm-hmm. So now we cut to another vignette of another incident that's about to happen. Very funny. And again, you're right. The casting of this little girl, she was so stinking cute with
Yep.
all of her like missing teeth.
Missing teeth and her seriousness.
Oh my God, yes. Her father's telling her the story about the tooth fairy, how they leave money under your pillow. And she's
Yep.
like really creeped out by this. She's like, you mean some strange thing is coming into my room in the middle of the night and
Yep.
like taking away my
Take
teeth?
my
That's
teeth.
weird. I don't like
No,
that at
thank
all.
you.
Yeah.
And the dad doesn't know what to do with it. So it's like, just go to sleep. Yeah, just but later we see the little girl get out of bed, take the tooth that her dad had put under her pillow, slide it under his pillow, and then go back to bed.
Hmm.
So then we see a shadow of fairy wings and, Tutu shadow into the dad's room and leans over, and the dad wakes up to a grown man, like a biker guy, who just says, shh, this you may feel a slight pinch. And you see this like set of pliers.
Yes, those cartoony kind of pliers that they use to pull
Yes.
teeth in cartoons and like Bugs Bunny.
Yes. And he puts his hand over the dad's mouth. He's like, you might feel a little pinch. And then it goes to
Yeah.
the typical supernatural shadow on the wall where we see blood, but we don't see red blood. We just see the shadow of blood, and you just hear
Yeah.
the dad screaming. As
Yeah, and
the
you hear
tooth
that
fairy.
terrible crunching sound. That
Ugh.
actually disturbs me more than most things, is that sound of teeth being pulled from your mouth.
Yeah.
At
Did I
least in
tell
the
you that-
movies.
That I woke up while they were pulling my wisdom teeth?
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Is that why you're afraid of the dentist?
that's one of the reasons.
Oh.
Absolutely. Nothing like waking up in the middle of the
Yeah,
surgery.
So this guy, remember there was one at the asylum episode that was like, I could have sworn that this was the mailman guy from Elf. It wasn't. This is the mailman
is the
guy from
guy.
Elf.
Right. The guy who shares his bottle of whiskey or whatever with them.
Yes, he works in the shiny
Yes.
mailroom, and he like tells all of his hopes and dreams. He's like, no, I gotta get out. I gotta get out.
Oh, that's right. I wrote down, I was like, I love this guy because it's like he's one of those faces that you see in a lot of
Yes.
other movies.
Well, Elf is one of them.
Oh, wait. Yep. He was on Smallville, X-Files, Fargo. Yeah, there you go. See, I did do some research on him. His name is Mark Aitchison.
Yes.
Aitchison? Yeah. Loved him. I would have loved to have been his agent, by the way, when he got this call.
So I read that there was a guy, not him, but some other large guy who showed up in a pink tutu and wings.
to read for the part.
Yes.
See, that's one thing I don't get. That's one thing I don't get about TV auditions, TV film auditions. You have
Yeah.
to show up as what you think the character
I don't
is.
think that they asked him to. I think he chose to do this
Oh my God.
because they specifically pointed out there was like this huge guy actually showed up in the costume already, and we're like, "What did you go on the bus like that?" You know?
Oh my God.
And then he didn't get it.
And then I'm sure if he's watching the show and he sees them like in a pink tutu and wings, he'd been like, dude, I would have been
mad.
yeah. But I mean, that's like the running joke is that they call all the people who could possibly fit that role. And it's like, y'all all look the same. Y'all dress the same. Y'all show up the same. You just have to be subjectively what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Like, make them hire you. I'm like, okay. So note to self. That's crazy that somebody showed up in a tutu and wings. That's great. Good for that. They should have given him the role just for that.
I know.
Oh, man.
Okay.
So, at the hospital.
Yes.
Where the dad has been taken because he's didn't have one tooth removed. He had all of his
them
teeth removed. And a quarter left under the pillow for every one of his
each
teeth
one
that was taken.
Sam also found out while Dean was flirting with a hot nurse that there was a kid with stomach ulcers because he mixed Pop Rocks and Coke. And Dean found out that someone's face froze in a goofy, I can't do it because this is an audio medium. that way.
I'm not. I wouldn't want you to anyway, because I was
Nope, I'm not.
horrified by
Yeah.
Jensen Ackles' face. And I was like, oh, I mean, every time I watched, I'm like, oh,
I
stop.
do love how he did it with trepidation, both because he was like, I don't really want to do it, and also I'm scared that my face might get stuck this
stick
way.
that way. Yes. Yep. And the Pop Rocks and Coke one, we were always told that your stomach would explode.
Yes.
That's what we were told. Not
Yes.
not ulcers, but that, yeah. I was like, why didn't they just say that their stomach exploded? That was the urban myth. Come on.
I know, probably because they didn't want to say like a kid's stomach exploded.
Yeah, I guess so. That's pretty cruel. Yeah, I get that. So all these things are childhood urban myths are coming true to people.
Yes.
Oh, and Dean's like, it's weird that all these things are happening, because I remember when I was little, I used to think that sea monkeys were real.
Yeah.
I used to think that sea monkeys were real.
I
On the
did
back
too.
of the comic books, they had the little crowns, and there's always like the dad in the foreground, the mom in the background, the kids sitting at the table or something.
Yeah, and it's like you order this package of sea monkeys, you're gonna have like these cute little pets.
Right. Yeah. And no. I mean, yes, they became alive once you put them in water, but they were, like Sam said, they were just brine. They were brine shrimp. They were just little floaty things in your tank that died almost immediately.
Yeah.
Not that I know, because my parents would never let me order sea monkeys.
Yeah, me neither. But I did like that Dean made this connection, because they're kind of like, I don't know, I'm at a loss. Like even Sam, like he does this whole like, I don't know, I got nothing.
I got nothing. Yeah.
So Dean makes the connection, and then Sam is like, aha, well, it's someone with the power to do that is very godlike or trickster-like.
Yes. With the sense of humor of a 9-year-old. Or, as Sam says, or you. Like you. I forgot to mention earlier, because I had a question about this character-wise. When Dean is interviewing the first kid, I forget, it's Jimmy. He mentions, babysitters. He's like, oh yeah, babysitters, they're the worst. Mrs. whatever, her name was, she was very strict about me going to bed, and because all she wanted to do was watch Dynasty or something. And I thought to myself, did Dean have babysitters?
Maybe before Sam was born and before Dad went on the whole hunting
on the road
mission.
Okay. Because
and I don't know how. I don't remember how many years Dean is older than Sam.
But I just thought, because when he first said it, I was like, is he lying to this little boy just to make a connection, or did he really have babysitters? Because like once they were on the road, it was just them. Right. Was my assumption. Right.
Or he could have just been talking out his ass.
Right. I know. It's just those little things stick in my head, though.
Yeah.
So back at the motel, Dean is still eating that freaking ham.
But it's almost gone. Like he's made some significant progress on that ham.
Yeah.
And Sam comes in with a map which has marked all of the incidents, plus some, and it makes like a 2-mile, like almost perfect circle radius of a farmhouse that's in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska, which there are many farmhouses in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska. Speaking from experience.
One.
Yes, and the motel must be within that radius because
why do you ask?
Gross. And Dean holds up a hairy palm. Wonder what he's been doing. Besides eating ham.
Besides eating ham. Which is funny, because I know I went back and I wound it. We don't see his right hand at all in the scene leading all the way in that whole scene until he raises it up. He very specifically does not use his right hand for anything. He's all left-handed, and then shows Sam his hairy palm. Sorry, nurse was hot. I was bored. And I love that Sam is like, yeah, but you could go blind from that too. Because that's the other that's the other one. I was like, oh, good point. So yes, their motel is in the range of this, house, the blast zone as they call it. So Dean runs off to shave his palm so they can go investigate this house. But the other reason they're investigating this house is, did they find out about the mom?
Not yet.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Not yet.
Nope. Okay. So they're gonna go investigate this house.
Yes.
Which is on the other side of the state.
No.
Yep.
No.
No, Valerie! Damn it.
Not yet.
They're gonna go, it's not on
You're
the other side of the
almost
state
there.
because their motel is in the center of this blast zone. So they put their suits back on and off they go.
Off they go, not too far, but not until
too far
Dean
down
shaves
the
his
road.
hand. And not with Sam's razor, although I did have a narrator.
That was
He did use Sam's razor. You could see it on his face when Sam was like, "Do not use my razor," and then
Yeah.
Dean had that.
That little look. Of
I'm
course I'm gonna use yours. Because I'm disgusting and your brother.
Yes. So the boys go to this farmhouse. They try to sneakily unlock it, but then this kid opens the door on them all of a sudden. So then they have to shape up and be like,
FBI, yes.
"We are agents." And this kid is suspicious of them. He's like, "Let me see."
And takes their badges and is
Yeah.
like investigating. He's like looking at their badges. And he's like, well, okay. I mean, he's somewhat fooled by the badges, but still skeptical when the boys are like, well, are your parents home? And he's like, they work. They're not here. Can we come in and take a look around? And the kid's like, all right.
Yeah.
Kid is cooking dinner on his own. And the boys automatically are like, hey, we used to do that. Or at least Sam is like, oh, I used to have to cook my own dinner when I was a kid. And
Sam is very bedside Sam here with this kid.
Oh,
and moving forward. Like Dean, I think, I vaguely remember Dean trying to like connect with him a little bit like he did with Jimmy, but it's just not working with this guy. And then Sam swoops in. He's like, oh, I know what to do.
Yep.
I got it. And in talking with him, they very quickly realize this kid name is Jesse, is the culprit because they pick up a drawing that he's done of a large hairy man in a pink tutu and wings, aka the Tooth Fairy. And then they kind of run the list of like, well, what do you think itching powder does? What do you think Pop Rocks do? What do you think this buzzer does? And so then Jesse's like, oh, you can scratch your brains out, or you can get a stomach ache, and you can get electrocuted with that thing. And Dean
doesn't have that,
ballsy move, and he's just like, it doesn't. That's just a thing that they tell you. It's actually really harmless. And to prove it, just like slap Sam with it.
I love that Sam literally, I mean, you could see that he probably shit himself a little bit when Dean did that.
That's a risky move.
But of course, it does not electrocute him, thankfully. And Sam is relieved. But it just goes to show that it's just a stupid toy. None of these things are true.
Yes, and in telling Jesse this, and all of a sudden it makes it a reality. Yeah. So, okay, somehow this kid is doing it, but I don't think that he thinks he knows he's doing it.
Right.
So let's do some research on him. Cut forward to, Jesse has been adopted. There's no father on file, but we do have the mother. Let's go. 2.
Elks Creek, Nebraska.
There you go.
Also real, but on the other side of the state.
Yep.
Where they find this overgrown, unkept house. They ring the doorbell, and this was giant, but there was a horseshoe over the
yes.
the front
I saw
of the door,
I saw it when they left, but yes.
When they left, I was like, and it's facing up. So interesting that a lucky house, considering. So they ring the doorbell. They show their badges because the person behind the door is like, I'm not opening the door. Show me your badge. Who are you? Very suspicious. But again, the badges work. And this woman unlocks 6 or 7 locks.
Yes.
And opens the door.
Suspicious and paranoid.
Yep. And they said, we want to talk to you about your son. And she says, I don't have a son. How did they get into the house?
They asked something like, did you notice anything weird about him? Something like that. She slammed the door in their face, and they're like, no, we're going to get you. Yeah, okay. And then she threw salt in their faces, and it doesn't work. She's like, wait a minute, I thought you were demons. And they're like, wait a minute, how do you know about demons?
And now they're
That's
sitting in her
essentially
kitchen.
how this scene shows.
Okay. All right. So now they're sitting in her kitchen and she's telling them her story.
Yeah.
That she was possessed by a demon. And by the way, this story leaves me with so many questions. She's possessed by a demon. She is pregnant while possessed by the demon and gives birth while still possessed by the demon. But in the process of giving birth, she thinks that the demon became exhausted. And she takes that opportunity to, in the demon's weakened state, she pounds like sidewalk salt. She just guzzles sidewalk salt because in her whole time of being possessed by this demon, she was learning and she was watching. She was awake during all this. She knows what can kill a demon. And so she just chugs all this sidewalk chalk and expels the demon, and the demon leaves without the child. So now she's left having just given birth with this small child, to which she really just wanted to kill it. But decides, the child is innocent. I'm not going to kill this child. The boys are like, well, where's the father in all this? And her little pièce de résistance is, I was a virgin. So this was a virgin birth. Virgin pregnancy, virgin birth. Question. This is Valerie stepping in here. If demons can impregnate a human female, whether it's by possession or not, why aren't demons just out there impregnating?
Doing that all over the place?
Yeah.
That is a good question.
What is it about this one demon that was able to bring about?
Yeah. Like what makes this demon so special?
So, and we don't get that answer, by the way. A little spoiler alert. We don't get that answer.
No, we don't.
But that was it just kind of stuck in my head. I was like, my first question was initially, was she pregnant when she got possessed? No. Did she have within her body, did she have sex with another demon? No, because she was virgin.
No, unless, because I was doing a little bit of reading on like how do antichrists get made.
Right.
And there's like a few different myths surrounding it. One could be a succubus, had sex with a man, took his seed, and then gave it to, and somehow transferred it to an incubus, maybe through sex or some other kind of mystical power, and then the incubus had sex with the female. Maybe she was, meaning Julia, was possessed and blacked out, and an incubus took advantage of that, or that demon is an incubus. I don't know. I don't even remember if they do like an incubus succubus monster episode. They haven't yet, and I can't remember if in the next 10 seasons they do. Regardless, or if it was somehow, an angel impregnated Mary when she was a virgin somehow. So maybe it's the same kind of process, but except for a heavenly, virginal birth, it's a demonly virginal birth. Why just this one time? I don't know.
That was just, again, one of those things that took me out for a second. I was like, press pause. Which came first, chicken or the egg? It was just one of those moments. So she gives the baby up for adoption. She's not going to raise this baby. Julia gives it up.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough. So both Dean and Sam realize that they need help. That this one just isn't going to. It's not going to solve itself.
Yeah,
we need some help. So back at the hotel, we see Cass. Yay! And they tell him the story, and they say, "What should we do?" And Cass's answer is,
"Kill him.
Kill him." Yep, got to kill the boy. Half demon, half boy, but more powerful than both.
Yes.
And both Sam and Dean were not expecting this answer of kill the boy, and they're like, "Let's pump the brakes on that.
Hold up.
We don't kill children." And Cass is like, a year ago, you would have done anything to stop the apocalypse.
Yeah. Low blow class.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say, there's some stuff we learned about Cass in this episode that I had forgotten about. Because in later episodes and in later seasons, Cass becomes more and more the comic relief of a lot of things. But in this episode, for me, the only comedy is that he sat on a whoopee cushion, placed by Dean.
Yes.
That is, yeah. Because he is straight up, Cass is on a mission now. He's like, you found this thing. There's no fucking around with this. And he's like, I don't know how to be more straightforward with you. This is not Lucifer's son. This is a demon spawn, and this will help this child that you guys are, calling a child, can bring about the end of heaven. Can kill the angels.
If the demons get their hands on him. Because he's powerful enough to hide from everybody, but now that Lucifer is risen, he will be found, and they will turn him, and literally all hell will break loose upon us all. So we have to stop that before it happens. And Sam tries to make the argument, then let's give him this information, this child this information, so then he tells this kid later, he's still half human, so maybe he can make the right choice.
Right.
And then Cass does another low blow, and an unfair low blow of, you didn't. But Sam was not given truthful information.
Right.
So he could not make a good choice based on what he knew, because he was like, kill Lilith, that'll end the war, because that's what the angels were telling them. It's like, you have to kill Lilith to end this apocalypse, when really it was like, oh, haha, just kidding. It's actually going to start the apocalypse, and that's what we want. So that was unfair. It's just like, you played this mind game with him. You led him in this direction, and now you're chastising him for making that decision.
Yeah, but I have to say, in all seriousness, though, that Cass is showing a not so compassionate side of.
Oh yeah, he's being a complete hard ass.
He's not being a dick, though. I'm gonna point that out. He's not like that, that other guy. He's just like. He's like, he's not playing games.
No, he's like, this is what we have to do.
Yeah.
Because he just don't have emotion. So why would he show emotion towards this kid, who he sees as like a very, very, very big potential threat?
Yeah. So Cass clearly wants to kill the boys. Sam and Dean don't. Both sides have their points. Like, put it to rest for a second, because Dean steps in and is like, whoa, let's talk about this.
So before we cut to the next scene, I just want to talk about this whoopee cushion for a minute, because when it happened, honestly, I was like, what the fuck? Are you serious? You put a whoopee cushion right here in this scene? It's so serious. Like, it felt so awkward and weird to me. And then I found out that none of the guys wanted it in there. They saw it in the script or did it in the reading or whatever, and they were like, this is terrible. This is like completely breaking the flow of the scene, of the information. It should not be here. They called the writers, they called Eric Kripke. They're like, please remove this whoopee cushion scene. It's so stupid. And then they were dragging their feet, trying to shoot the scene because they just didn't want to.
Didn't want it done.
And then by the time they did, they couldn't film it because they were just laughing so hard, because it's a whoopee cushion. And also, it doesn't really sound like that, it's always like a
no, yeah. There's no extended fart. It literally is a if it does anything, because you're sitting on the little lips that flap, so it's like. But I have to admit that Cass's look, Cass does it and he's like, that wasn't me. Mm-hmm. And then he looks at Dean like, are you fucking serious right now?
Yeah.
And this is where I start to taking Cass out of being he's still the brunt of the joke, but it's not funny. It's not funny this time because it's too serious. It's the life of a child.
That's what it was. It's like, this wasn't funny. Like, that whoopee cushion needed to, happen at a different time. I knew it was going to happen because, they made such a point of Dean being so happy about it and buying it. Yep. So it's like, it's obvious someone's going to sit on this fucking whoopee cushion. That was not the moment to do it.
Yeah. But, yes. And also, I think it was well played from that point on, from the fart on. I think the characters handled that scene very well. They did, and it was just like, Dean being a 9-year-old couldn't, help himself.
Yes.
But then he also kind of snapped out of it too. So they didn't milk it.
No, they didn't linger.
It was funny,
They didn't linger on it like we are lingering on it now. So let's take a note and move on. So we're back at Julia's. It's at night. She's leaving the house and runs into her
16 locks.
Yeah, and runs into her mailman, which that should have been the first red flag of a mailman on her porch at night. But she's just like, "Oh, sorry, you just gave me a fright," and of course his eyes turn black, and he's just like, "Oh, let's go see our child," Miss Naughty, talking to the Winchesters.
Yep. I want to do a little flashback real quick. The first time where the boys are at her house, a mail truck drives by, which I thought was a nice little foreshadowing. Yeah,
very
so the boys
nice.
were sitting in the Impala outside the house before they get out to go to the house. A mail truck drives by.
Very nice.
So mail truck, the demons were watching, whether they were watching the boys or they were watching her house.
Right.
They were already there. So demon mailman grabs her and possesses her. And it's truly horrifying. This poor woman. I know. She knew it was going to happen. The demon grabbed her face, forced her jaw open, and black smoked down her throat. And it was just horrifying to watch this poor woman go through this again.
I know, because you could see she was in such a freeze state, like reliving that trauma again. Yeah, it was really hard. This actress played it very well.
So off they go because she now knows, because the boys told her where her son is.
It's in her brain.
It's in her brain, so the demons know where the boy is.
Mm-hmm. So off we cut to Jesse's. Cass shows up. Says that, "Hey, I'm not going to hurt you." Except he's got a knife behind his back and then raises it above his head and says, "Sorry."
Yep.
The boys knock down the door right after that and find a tiny little action figure in a trench coat on the ground.
Holding a little tiny dagger.
Yes.
So yes, this little boy has now turned Cass into a little action figure.
Which was made by a local sculptor.
Really?
Yes, nice. It was custom made. There were many of them, and apparently it was a very hot item on the set, and everyone tried to steal it. And
kept taking them?
I don't think they ever got away with it, but Misha is still upset that Props never gave him one.
Oh!
I know!
I am upset on his behalf.
Yes,
I'm
same.
Absolutely upset on his behalf. Totally should have gotten one. Maybe at the next, SuperCon. We'll give him one. When we're there and we'll witness it.
Yes.
Okay, so the boys confront Jesse. Like, how did you do this? And he's like,
I just did.
I just did. He was gonna hurt me.
Is he your friend? Yeah,
and Dean's like, nope.
Yep.
Nope. Lies startup. But and now the lies just keep coming out because they're trying to keep him calm, I guess. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember while Cass was trying to describe how dangerous Jesse actually is, not just the demon spawn of Lucifer. He explains that because one of the things they wanted to do was kidnap Jesse and take him away so that they could, quote, train him to be good, basically, like bring him to Bobby's and train him into being good. And Cass points out, he's like, all these little things around town, people have been dying, but it's this thing is happy. He doesn't say this boy, this thing is happy.
Yeah, he calls it he calls it thing. He doesn't really
imagine what will happen when it's not.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, okay. A
Yeah,
little
so
bit more
that gives
urgency
it, yes.
a little bit more
Yes.
urgency in getting to this child.
Yeah, you're right.
So when the boys come in and they see that Cass has been transformed into a little action figure, they're like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, mega powers here. Let's keep
Yeah.
him happy. And the way to keep him happy at this point is to lie to him.
Mm-hmm.
You must be a superhero, because the child is like, how did I do that? And he's
Yeah.
scared. He's
Mm-hmm.
scared. How did this happen? And Dean jumps in with, well, it's because you're a superhero. And, we can take you away to a fun camp where we can teach you how to use your superhero powers and you can get trained like the X-Men.
Yeah, we even have a guy in a wheelchair, just like
Yeah,
the X-Men.
we got Magneto, and
It's Professor X, but it's okay. No,
oh, sorry. Which one's Magneto?
Well, in the movies, it's played by Ian McKellen, but he has the
Oh,
power.
that's
He's got the
why.
helmet. He has the power over metal. Professor X is Patrick Stewart in the wheelchair, and he's got like
Stewart.
mind things. Professor X is a good guy. Magneto's usually not so good. Oh, he's conflicted,
It doesn't explain. Never mind.
But like Patrick is like, no, we should befriend the human in the movie anyway. I'm not that familiar with the comic books, and I did used to watch the cartoon, but again, that has escaped my brain. But Professor X is always like, no, we should be friends with the humans. Let's try to, because the humans and the mutants are like, we hate the, the humans hate the mutants. Patrick wants to take a more Professor X wants to take a more forgiving route, and Magneto is like, fuck them, they're assholes. So we're more powerful than them. So it's like it's an interesting relationship that I really like in those movies. Awesome. But anyway, neither here nor there.
Okay.
So superhero camp with Professor X, and then Demon Julia bursts in the door and blasts the boys against the wall. Dean a few times.
Several times.
Yeah, don't damage the goods there for Sam. But you.
Yep. But Dean, boop, boop, I do cracking the plaster with every body slam. Mm-hmm. And then both of them are slammed up against the wall and held there. I'm assuming also being choked at the same time because they seemed. So she proceeds to tell Jesse that everyone's been lying to you. Even these two guys. Mm-hmm. You're my son. You're half demon. You're not a superhero. I mean, lays it out cold. I mean, this poor kid is getting so much
information going on at once.
Yeah. And what is true, he doesn't know. He doesn't know who to believe, but he doesn't fully believe Julia.
Until she's kind of like, but you know that you're different. You've always had a feeling. Your parents like kind of leave you alone all the time. They probably think something's up too. And that makes you angry, doesn't it? And so this kid in his anger, and you can see it in his little balled up little fists, it starts to manifest in the house. The fireplace flashing and flaring, cracks down the walls and in the photo frames. And that's just like with one little like, grr,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you are right. The way that Cass said, like, imagine when this thing is not happy. And this kid is only a little bit not happy. Like he's just starting to be like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Well, why? Yes. Right. My parents aren't my parents. Yeah. They don't love me because they work all day and leave me at home alone. These guys have been lying to me. I'm not a superhero. Mm-hmm. What's going on? But Sam is able to bedside Sam him a little bit.
A little bit, yes. He's able to at least crack out like, wait a minute. You are right. Or, this demon is right. We have been lying to you. Let me tell you the truth. Demon tries to stop it, like choke him out so he can't speak anymore. Jesse, with just one little command of stop it, I want to hear him out. Controls this demon. Yeah. Overpowers the demon's power.
Yep. Demon slammed into a chair and made mute. And her grip on Sam has loosened. Not on Dean. But on Sam. And so Sam is now able to have a one-on-one bedside Sam with Jesse and lays it all out. We've been lying to you. We're brothers. We hunt monsters. But you're in danger. And he tries to explain what's really going on. There's the apocalypse, and I was wrong. I had my opportunity to change the path of things, and I messed up, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can do this other thing.
So Sam does get through to Jesse and is able to just simply say to Julia, get out.
Get out.
And this demon immediately is like forced
smokes out
of her body. Amazing.
Which is awesome. Yep. And then Julia passes out. Dean is released from the wall and does his textbook "Kid, you're awesome" line. And now it's like, well, now what do we do?
Yeah.
And Sam says, come with us and we'll take you and train you. And the little boy is like, what if I don't want to fight? And they're like, well, you should still come with us. And the little boy is like, well, can I go say goodbye to my parents?
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. The Jesse hesitates at being recruited to fight. And then again, bedside Sam comes in and says, this is your choice. Like, you have the choice. If you don't want to fight, then you don't have to. But you are very powerful. And, family's important. And I know you want to be with your parents. But just know that if you take them with you, wherever you go, they are also going to be in danger.
Yeah. Our parents were killed.
Yes. He treats him like an adult. He's like, I know that this is not fair for you to have the weight of this choice on your shoulders at such a young age. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is with who you are and what you are. So but ultimately, it's your choice. You do what you think you need to do. Yep. And then Jesse says, well, let me say goodbye to my parents then. Chooses not to wake them up. He sees them sleeping and he's like, you know what, I'll just... Never mind.
Goes into his room, kind of takes a look around. And that's the last we see of Jesse. Yeah. The boys downstairs like, he's been taking a long time. They go upstairs and see his empty bedroom. There's a note on the bed for them. And Cass comes in. So
Cass is back alive.
Released.
Yes.
Cass has been released from his toy and explains that Jesse's gone, but before he left, he made everybody whole again, everybody who was still alive, who had been affected by his lies, essentially, his what he thought
misbeliefs,
were lies. Yes, his misbeliefs. But he's gone. Where? I don't know.
Yeah, he's powerful enough to hide from heaven and hell. Yep. How do we find him? You can't. And spoiler alert, they never will.
They never will. Of course, I was like, he could be in Australia, given that his entire room was plastered with like Australia.
Well, there's like Australia and Hawaii. There's a lot of like different stuff going on there. So that's probably where he went, was somewhere in Australia.
But yes, they never do. And I don't think we ever hear
No, that's
from
what
him.
I mean. Is spoiler alert is never again does Jesse show up in the supernatural universe. They made such like stories like, oh my god, this is the most powerful thing we've ever seen. In case y'all were wondering, it's like, oh, am I going to see him again? When's he going to show up? He won't. Don't hold your breath.
No spoiler. No, he's not. He's not.
This is a one-off.
This is a one-off. Absolutely a one-off. But it helps them continue the story of, right decisions, wrong decisions. Sam and Dean's terrible childhood once the truths were told to them. They do feel guilt. Sam and Dean are driving away in the Impala. And they're like, we ruined that kid's life. And at the same time, they're like, yeah, but now he knows and he can make a choice and not be always questioning why are these things happening. Yeah. And both Sam and Dean are like, well, I guess we soldier on type of.
Yeah. Except Dean is like, man, I wish that Dad would have been more like sugarcoating things, telling us simple little lies to protect us from the truth. And Sam agreed. Right. So the idea that there is actually a monster under the bed, you didn't have to tell me that. It just makes me like ache a little bit for the little boys who had to cook soup for themselves, at dinner time. They didn't get to just have their parents tell them sweet little lies or their friends tell them lies that were harmless. Yeah. The Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, it would have been nice. But I think the kid who now knows he's a demon and has powers to teleport, not so concerned about the joy buzzers not being real anymore. Right.
So good episode, good walk away.
Yeah.
But when I was talking about character development, I was really concentrating on Cass in this episode. That Cass was very unforgiving. He was not the butt of jokes other than the whoopee cushion. And nor was he in any type of discovery mode for himself. He wasn't discovering what it was to listen to humans or to be controlled by angels or to have conflict about
Jimmy Novak.
So there was no conflict there. It was just a very straightforward Cass.
Yeah.
And it was very much like the first time we met him, which is, I'm the one who gripped you tight and pulled you from perdition.
Yeah. Little bit, I would argue, a little bit one-dimensional in this episode, meaning it's just like, I need to destroy.
Yeah. But there was no messing around with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was not anyone's punching bag.
Yeah.
He wasn't being dicked around by the angels. He wasn't listening to Sam and Dean.
Yeah.
Anyway. It was just it was very solid for me. I guess that's what I'm saying. So good episode. I loved this episode. I really did. Even for a standalone, and because it didn't really, get us closer to Lucifer, but it was still just, I thought, a great episode. The boys weren't fighting against each other. There's some jocularity again with the whole, masturbation jokes and, almost killing
that's
Sam
funny
with the
because
joy buzzer.
this writing team was also the writing team for, hold up, Yellow Fever and After School Special. So the After School Special is the one with Dean in the high knee socks and the little gym coach outfit. Yellow Fever, of course, is just full on Dean humor.
Yes, being scared of everything. Yes.
So it's like these writers love to mess with Dean, I think. With the hairy
which is
palms
probably why they did the hairy palm instead of making him go blind.
Yeah.
That was good. That stuff was good.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of when you do your if you're getting aligners, like self-aligners.
Oh yeah, when they put that
guard, you gotta take a picture of your teeth, and it's that. That's what Dean did. It's like, oh god. So anyway, so great episode, good writers.
Indeed.
It was I liked it. What's up next?
Our next episode is The Curious Case of Dean Winchester.
Oh, okay. I mean, obviously I have recently watched this one. It's good, but there's parts of it that I'm just like, ugh, I didn't like.
I haven't seen this one in a while.
Well, I'll talk about it next time.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it next time.
Can't wait. Okay, so thank you, folks, so much for tuning into this week's breakdown of I Believe the Children Are Our Future. I cannot believe that you didn't do a title breakdown like you always do.
I was singing it under your intro. You just didn't hear me. So I think at this point we all know what I'm going to do.
It's pretty obvious, yeah, where that title comes from.
But surprise, maybe we don't know what the next one is. Oh wait.
No.
Okay.
Well, at least the next one has a little bit of a twist to it. It's not ripped like
it's not the
word for word the title of something. Anyway, so thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Please, 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 if you so desire, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can follow us, download us, I don't know, all the different kinds of things that the podcast platforms can do. If you were allowed to give us a rating, that would be awesome also, if it's a good rating. You can also find us on social media. We are at Salt and Burn This everywhere. And we would love to have you. And if you could share these episodes with your friends, family, get us floating around, we would be very appreciative of that also.
Yeah. P.S. The title, Children Are Our Future. Since we don't see this child again, fuck that title. It has nothing to do with this episode.
Fair enough. And with that, we will say goodbye, and we will see you next week for The Curious Case of Dean Winchester. Bye.
Bye.